All right. So I'm curious
Hmm.
because swimming is something I feel like most people learn how to do when they're young,
Hmm.
and you're learning how to do this as an adult. So how did you not learn how to swim up till this point? Like, why?
I don't really know. Um, just for some reason, I've always had a fear for water. I'll kind of explain that fear in a little bit, but I just remember, I think it's something that your parents have to get you into, and that was something
Uh-huh.
that my parents never did. They never signed me up for lessons, and it was never a thing. And I remember, though, my parents would always tell a story that when I was really young, of course, they took us to the pool, and there's videos, home videos of my brother swimming, and they said, we never taught your brother. He just went in the pool and just started
Just did it.
kicking and just did it. I go, well, what happened to me? And so they say, well, when I was really little, they took me to the pool, and my dad would say, oh, look how much she loves water. And my mom claims that I had a terrified look on my face the entire time, just horrified that I was in water. And so my dad would say, oh, look how much this baby loves water. And I said, no, you are not having it. And so, but I mean, me being a baby, I don't know if I was really traumatized by that. I think it was just more that my parents, they weren't proactive about getting me into the how to swim. And so the older you get, you just kind of go, you always think you're too old.
Right.
Especially if you're a teenager, it becomes really self-conscious. You go, oh, I'm really too old to do this. And then you just keep pushing things off.
Okay. So you mentioned that you had some fear about it. Did you continue to have fear like as a teenager and as an adult? Like do you
So actually, I wouldn't really describe it as a fear. I mean, I don't trust water, that's for one thing, but I'm not afraid of it. Because I go boating with my family, I'm always on the boat, but, being around large bodies of water doesn't scare me.
Okay.
So in that
Okay.
sense, people say, well, if you don't know how to swim, why would you not be afraid of water? I'm not really afraid of it. It doesn't stop me from enjoying myself on a boat as long as I don't have to be in the water.
Sure. Yeah, I mean I can imagine if you can't swim, actually being in the water
Would be a problem.
would be pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
So what made you decide like now's the time, I'm gonna do it?
Sure. So I've had, in the past several years, I've had stints of where I really want to do it and I try and, but, whatever it may be, I don't continue lessons or it's just with friends and it just doesn't really work out.
Okay.
But what happened this summer was, I wasn't expecting this to happen, but I was again on a boat with some other friends but it was a wakeboarding boat. And so it was meant for people to be doing outdoor sports. And I was watching everybody try wakeboarding and surfing, and I just sat on the boat and I couldn't do anything.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I got really annoyed at myself that simply because I can't swim, I couldn't try these other fun things. And so that was really irritating. And then there's people saying, oh, why don't you try? I'm like, no, it's okay, no, because I didn't know these
Did
people.
so you didn't
I didn't really
so they
explain to
didn't
them
know.
that I didn't know how to swim. It was just more, no, it
It's
sounded
not
like I
my
was a
thing.
chicken.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a really compelling
Yeah.
motivation
That day
to
I was
actually
like,
do it.
I've had enough of this. I don't want that to stop me from trying these other things that look really fun.
So what did you do? Did you like look through Google and there's some swim lessons? I'll do that. Like why not? I mean, you teach piano. You are an accomplished learner. Why did you decide that you need lessons? Why not just do it on your own? Look up some YouTube videos and like just how did it all come together?
I wonder if that would work, learning from YouTube videos.
It's funny because I found quite a few learning to swimming for beginners YouTube videos, and I was wondering just how does that even work logistically? Are you okay? I got it. Let me get in the water. Let me look
Put
at my
your phone
again.
in a
Yeah.
waterproof case.
Right.
The thought never crossed my mind. I think because as a teacher, I understand the value of having private lessons with someone that is there and it's geared towards you. I mean, I think that's just the main root of it. So it never crossed my mind to go learn something on my own because I never learned an instrument on my own.
Oh, sure.
It was
Okay.
always guided, and so therefore it made. And also, actually, probably because I want someone there that could prevent me from drowning myself.
That
Yeah,
makes
maybe
sense.
safety
I mean,
thing.
yeah. I mean, it's different.
Yeah.
Learning how to play an instrument.
Exactly. It's
If you
not life or
fail,
death.
right, you're not going to
Yeah.
drown. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like, what did you feel like after you secured your lessons and you were committed? Like,
I was
I'm
excited.
gonna do it. You were excited?
I was excited. I was telling everybody about it, and I was, for once, I was proud to claim that I didn't know how to swim, but I'm doing something about it. And I think I told everyone in the program when I first, that was my introduction. You know, I was all of a sudden, instead of it being a thing that I was kind of ashamed of and just didn't ever really talk about, I was announcing it. I said, hey, I'm learning how to swim. So I was really proud of that. I was doing something about it.
That's very cool. So what do you do in your lessons when you go there? Like, tell me. I know you just had your first one. What was that like? What did you do? Because I can't even remember my first swim lesson. And you know, what did we do? We probably did some sort of floaty activities or something. So what kind of stuff were you doing?
Yeah, I mean, it was me meeting the teacher for the first time. She's just a senior here at UT, and so, you know, she was telling me how experienced she was and that she's taught all kinds of people, and I went, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then I said, I'm actually I'm a teacher as well. And so that was actually kind of interesting. Our dialogue was very different, and she also mentioned that it was different, and I think it's because I was approaching it from the fact that I was thinking, what would I want my students to tell me if I was a teacher?
Okay.
So I was giving her a lot more feedback, and so that was one of the points in our conversation. And she had even mentioned it. She's like, it's different. But as far as the exercise that we did, you know, I was like, okay, do we just start floating? What do we do? And so she said, no, you know what? We're just gonna. The water was cold, and so we got in. And he said, we're just gonna bob and just kind of put our chin in the water and just come back up. That's it. Just kind of getting more of me into the water, and so we went from the chin, and she said, okay, now go up to your mouth.
Okay, so just getting comfortable.
Yeah, and I kind of went.
So gradually.
Yeah, you know, this is nothing. You know, we're talking the entire time, so it's not a big deal. It's just, let's just get more water in. And then she said, okay, now this time, let's go put your nose in the water as well. And so I did it, and I came up sputtering. And I went, okay, that one caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that sensation, you know, because I mean, we're used to having water around here, but not having our noses underwater.
Yeah.
And so she always demonstrates before she has me do anything. And so I'm watching her very carefully. You know, she's modeling, and I'm okay. Let me make sure, you know, how she's holding her body. And even when she said, okay, well, put your arms out, and I would say, well, I see your hands doing this, but I'm tense when I do this. And she'd go, oh, no, sorry. You know, I had a hawk eye on her, and I was literally watching her every move. And so she realized that I'm seeing a lot more than she realizes what she's doing. And she'd have to kind of correct that. But so when I came up sputtering, she went, okay, well, yeah, hold on one second. And so she did it again. And before she even said anything, I said, oh, you tilted your head down, whereas I just went straight down. And so I was noticing things about what she did, and so when I tried it by putting my head down, it was not quite shocking because my face was at an angle going into the water, so the water didn't go straight up my nose, right? So it was, and she didn't even explain it. I just watched her, and I thought, oh, well, she was physically going to the water differently,
right?
And so that's kind of what we started with. It was just dipping a little bit more in the water, and then we did end up working on floating exercises. That's one thing I can't do. I don't trust water, so I don't believe that it can float me.
So did that change for you? I mean, after your first lesson?
So the first lesson, I'm not floating on my own yet. I'm starting to.
So you're still working towards.
Still working towards it. Hope maybe by my next one. I don't know. So she holds my head when I'm doing it, and so that I can start feeling relaxing every part, so I can focus on what I'm feeling instead of panicking.
Right.
You know, because I don't trust it. And so I've actually started feeling the buoyancy a little bit. I go, oh, that's really funny, you know, like, because I never believed that I could until the sensation's kind of coming to me, and it's very, very strange.
Yeah, it's interesting how she's giving a framework for you to have that experience in a safe way, that you're starting to trust it more.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do you practice that then? Does she say, okay, now I want you to go home and work on floating? Like, how do you...
No, so she actually said...
Or does she say, don't do anything until next time we can get together?
So she knew about my friend Isabel. I had told her that, you know, just a week ago, she was helping me with floating, and I told her how far we had gone and what I had already experienced, and so she was able to build on top of that. And so she said, it'd be great if you can practice, but make sure you are doing it with someone that you trust. And so she said, go very, very slowly. It's completely fine. Because what she said, you know, after having worked with me for half an hour, she said, you know, you're actually at a really good spot, and mentally you're really open, even though you don't trust water just yet. But she said, because you're really opening learning, I want to take this very slowly so that when you practice, you don't have an instance of where all of a sudden something bad happens.
Right.
You have a negative remembering of, of that happening. Maybe just one little exercise where I lose my footing and I slip and all of a sudden I'm underwater. Let's try and avoid that. So if you're in a safe place where you can comfortably do these, then fine. But don't push yourself outside if it's, she was really conscious that she didn't want me to create any negative experiences on my own.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest challenge that you're facing? Is it an actual skill thing, like doing what the teacher is asking you to do, or are you having more challenges with just even wrapping your mind around getting into the water and the fear of the water or anything like that? Is it more, I guess what I'm asking is, are your challenges more mental or physical?
Right now, mental. I guess physically I know that I can do it, and so there's a huge mental block. And that's another thing, I'm telling myself to stop telling yourself that you have a mental block, because that's not helping things. And so, apparently I exhibited that, I was very open about it, so I'm just trying to keep that there, that, she tells me to do, I'm happy to try it, if it doesn't work, I'll adjust whatever, and I'll try it again. So currently, I feel pretty okay. They're not major challenges yet. I guess the first challenge would be, that'd be huge hurdles for me to be able to float on my own, I think, after that.
So is that like would you say that floating, that's like your next big goal? Do
Yeah.
you have anything after that? Like, what are you thinking long term for Ruby and swimming? Where do you want to go with it? Do you have plans?
No, nothing big. It's just I want to be able to do it, and knowing that I can, that's really all I want. I'm not going to go start competing swimming or whatever, and really I just want to be able to go paddleboarding and know that if I lose my balance in the water, I will be fine, because I can float myself, or I can actually, swim myself enough until I grab hold of something, so it just makes it so that I can try other experiences because I know this basic thing to do.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about how you're teaching and you're understanding some of the things that you're doing in your lessons from that perspective. Tell me a little bit about what maybe you're bringing now to your teaching practice that you've learned from being in the position of being a beginner and not really knowing what you're doing and just having to trust your teacher and go with it. Like, what have you experienced with that?
I think what I noticed in our lessons, she would always ask me afterwards how it felt. And so, one thing, she never has me do anything that I'm not comfortable with. First, she would demonstrate, she'd say, do you think you're comfortable doing this? And I said, yeah, no problem.
Do you feel that that's because of the fear side of things, or the trust?
I think it's her,
or just a
her
standard
being a
practice?
good teacher, just making sure that she's not pushing me beyond my comfort zone.
Okay.
And that we're easing our way in so that we don't hit a large wall of mental whatever it may be. And so with her stopping and evaluating, and then actually I noticed the feedback I gave her was really detailed. I would tell her what I was feeling, and I think that was from, as a teacher, I wish my students would tell me this kind of information, but as teachers, teaching someone a new instrument, we're watching them and we're trying to infer from their body language or something physically that they're doing, and we try to infer that. And so I'm kind of trying to take that away from her, and I'm helping her help me by just giving her whatever information I know I have.
You're being very teachable, very coachable, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was actually
if only all of our students were like that.
Right, and so coming back to my own teaching, I've realized my students may not be able to tell me these little things that I need to know, but that's because I'm not asking them very specific questions. So if I were to ask them, you play this passage, how did your arm feel? Rather than how did it feel?
Mm-hmm.
I go, well, for mine. Because what part of feeling are you asking them?
Right.
So I think as teachers, if we make our questions more specific, we can actually glean information that we need without having to guess and kind of muddle our way through it. So let's just be able to pinpoint. Just ask them, but it's the way you ask the question, they will give you the information. So.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think I've asked all the questions I had prepared and all the things I was interested in. Is there anything I missed or that from your experience that you want to talk more about?
I think I'm good. So hopefully I can float in the next week or so without anybody helping me. And yeah, I just want to be swim. So thank you.
Nice. No, thanks for taking the time to talk with me about this.
Of course.